Welcome back to the Charismatic Voice. Today's comparison analysis of Defying Gravity is going to be deep and intense. This song is already intense, but we're going to be diving into three different versions. The first version is going to be the live performance from the 2004 Tony Awards with Idina Menzel, who was the originator of the role. And then we're going to be comparing the studio versions from the original Broadway cast with the film version featuring Cynthia Erivo. It's going to be a lot, so let's get to it.
My girls, Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel, and our spellbinding colleagues from Wicked!
This was so wild at the time.
Don't be afraid.
I'm not. It's the wizard who should be afraid of me.
She's so good in this role.
Changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game. Too late for second guessing. Too late to go back to sleep. It's time to trust my instincts. Close my eyes and sleep. It's time to try defying gravity. I think I'll try defying gravity, and you can't pull me down. Quick.
So most of y'all have probably seen the film version. I'm not sure if you've seen the originator of the role, Idina Menzel, perform this in several live performances available on YouTube. But I think it's really important that we take a look at this and get some context because she helped to create this role. Any person that first starts a role off on Broadway is responsible for how all of the people afterwards sing it. They set standards, and Idina Menzel set an incredible standard. This song is, it's a beast. It's one of the harder roles in all of musical theater repertoire to sing. And this song can totally blow out a person's voice. This Tony Awards show, this is right before Idina actually wins the Tony for her performance in Wicked. And I have to say, there are some holes in this performance, which we're going to talk a little bit about, just to give you an idea of how incredibly difficult this song is. It's so hard. The studio albums make it seem easy, or I should say easier. It, like, do not ever doubt for a second that this is a very, very hard song. Singers blow their voices out on this song all the time. Now, we're going to talk about some of the things that Idina set up as just being inherent to this role.
Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel.
Also,
and
Kristen
our
Chenoweth.
spellbinding colleagues from Wicked!
Don't be afraid.
I love her breath in this.
It's the wizard who should be afraid of me. Something has changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game.
That's such a hard intro. Like, it's so hard. Y'all, on the rules, I'm just gonna, yeah, we're on. Okay, cool. This jump on the rules is over an octave. That's an octave. This is like an octave and a half. Okay, it is such a huge jump, and it's also going over some troubling spots in the voice. This is like going from first gear to fourth gear in a voice. Okay, if you're familiar with stick shifts, which, gosh, some of y'all don't know what that is. I actually grew up driving a stick shift, so that makes sense to me. I'm sorry if it didn't make sense to you. Just imagine, it's not like going from one gear to the next. We actually skip some gears in there. It's totally nuts, that jump on the rules. Additionally, this is, we've been singing, or she's been singing, Alphabet has been singing a lot at this point. She's, the voice it's warmed up here, right? This is the end of Act 1. It starts out kind of low, but really intense. She actually doesn't hit that first low note quite as cleanly as I think she could, although that might have been intentional. Check it out.
Don't be afraid.
I'm not.
She sort of sounds afraid with her
Wizard who
breath.
should be afraid
I appreciate that.
of me.
I like the craze that she brings to this part.
Something has changed within me.
So on me, she doesn't quite go down to the lowest part there. She doesn't start the pitch there. She kind of slides down a little bit into it, hits it later. That might have been from some nerves. That might have been intentional to give a little more unsteadiness to the role as well. Don't know. But I think it's interesting what they do in the studio performances of this. We'll talk about that later. For now, I'm going to let it roll a little bit. And I want to talk after that about what characterizations she's bringing into the role.
Something has changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game.
So hard.
Too late for second sing. Too late to go back to sleep. It's time to trust my instincts. Close my eyes and leave. It's time to try defying gravity.
I love this first chorus that she goes into because she lines it up, and the orchestration is designed in a way to line it up how it's written too, but she like tosses off on try. She actually does this beautiful decrescendo and like pulls it back right there, and we see that pattern in so many singers afterwards. Additionally, I think that the overall characterization that Idina brings to this role is it's eager, really eager to please a lot of times, but also super nerdy and authentic. Of course, you have to be very, very unique, I think, in your character and in the timbre of the voice to be able to play this role. It's such an iconic role. So I think that Idina makes it so lovable. And there are different ways that people approach this. We're going to be comparing. I wish we could actually bring in the film version too, but we can just do the soundtracks right now. But if you've seen the film already, just think about how Cynthia might have been inspired by Idina's characterization. Let's go back just a little bit, catch that decrescendo into the first chorus.
Too late to go back to sleep. It's time to trust my instincts. Close my eyes and leave. It's time to try.
That part. Oh!
Gravity. I think I'll try defying gravity, and you can't pull me down.
I like the craze that's brought into this so much.
Come with me. Think of what we could do together. Unlimited. Together we're unlimited. Together we'll be the greatest team there's ever been. Glenn our dreams the way we planned them. If we work in tandem, there's no fight we cannot win.
I think it's really important that we recognize how the characters' voices are matching here. Because really, Defying Gravity is Elphaba's moment. That's the moment where she rejects any kind of societal norms or restrictions or bonds and says, she's defying it. She's defying anything that's going to bring her down. It's gorgeous, gorgeous lyrics. Well done. Well done. Both Stephen Schwartz and I forgot her name. the amazing Winnie Holtzman, who did helped both adapt the book into the musical and also the musical into the screenplay. Amazing, amazing lyrics. Though sometimes the vowels are not set in the absolute best way for the voice, it makes it even more impressive though. But we have to note, while it's Elphaba's big moment, Glinda at this point, not Glinda anymore, right? Glinda is partner in this song, much in the same way that Elphaba, even though she isn't actually singing in Popular, she's still a partner. She's still somebody that Glinda plays off of in Popular. I did another analysis of Popular. Not sure if this one or the Popular analysis will release first, but I talk a lot more about Kristen Chenoweth's voice in that. I talk a lot about the nasality and the focus and the tone. These two match really well in how much nasality they bring into their sound. I'll talk some more about Ariana and Cynthia and how they match later, but just keep that in mind as we're going through this.
There will be the greatest team that's
A lot of this.
Glinda dreams the way we planned them. If we work in tandem, there's no fight
Very
we
nice one.
cannot win. Just you and I, defying gravity. With you and I, defying gravity. They'll never bring us down.
You have to have an Elphaba and Glinda that can stand up against each other for this to work. That section, I've seen Broadway musicals where the leads didn't quite match up. Like when somebody gets sick and you have an understudy that wasn't necessarily supposed to go with one person, or anyhow, it's very noticeable when the weights or the timbres don't hold up against each other. And this is one of those critical moments. These two held up so well. And I really have so much appreciation actually for how the film was cast. I think that they did a fantastic job, both in the casting and then in the production and both visual and audio, making sure that things balanced well. Fantastic, fantastic. We'll go back just a little bit. Keep going.
Gravity, they'll never bring us down.
I love the emphasis of never bring us down there.
You're trembling. I hope you're happy. Now that you're choosing this.
You too. I hope it brings you bliss.
I really hope you get it.
And you don't live to regret it. I hope you're happy in the end. I hope you're happy, my friend.
And good to point out there that I've actually heard those parts flipped before as well. A lot of times I'll hear this song performed as a standalone solo, so we actually we won't have our Glinda in there, which is kind of weird. There's cuts and things that have to be made. This version is actually shorter than either of the studio versions. They include a lot more, but you can flip those parts in a duet, but they're written the way that they are. I think it depends on how the voices balance each other.
Don't let her get away!
Wait, what are you doing? Let go of me, do you hear?
It's not her. She's nothing to do with it. I'm the one you want. It's me.
Help me.
It's me. So if you care to find me, look to the western sky. As someone told me lately, everyone deserves a chance to fly. And
So as if the song isn't already hard enough, let's lift the singer up in the air and reduce the feeling of support beneath their feet. Literally make them fly. Drop the ground up from underneath them. Having seen this musical live, I can totally testify that this moment is incredible to behold in the audience, but it is I also just feel my support system like gasp out in pity for the singer at this point. Just, it's so nice to have the ground underneath you when you're going to go up for some high belted notes, especially when they're sustained over and over. And then, especially when you keep going low. This is one of the reasons the songs is hard. It doesn't it doesn't stay within an octave, say. No, 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 no. It keeps dipping back down super low and then stretching super high. And that means that the singer's continually needing to measure the volume and self-correct all the time. This is so hard to do, which is one of the reasons I wanted a live version. We don't have all of the studio tamperings here. When your voice goes lower, if you're staying in chest register, which often this last part is all going to be performed in chest register, which is the lowest register. Sometimes you'll start mixing some things up there, depends on the voice and the person, but we're going to stay really, really, really heavy in the mechanism. Generally, the lower you go in a register, the softer the voice will become. That's physics. Physics and how it relates to voice is one of the things I find most fascinating. So we go lower, it's naturally going to get quieter. That means a singer, in order to balance these really, really high belts from singing high in their chest voice, perhaps mixing a little bit in, okay? In order to balance that naturally louder voice, they have to actually focus on singing louder in the lowers. But that's going to thicken things up a lot of times. And when they go back up higher, they need to become a little thinner and leaner to try and balance it out and also not blow out their voice. If you take up all of the weight that you're putting in the bottom over and over to try and be more present to the sound, if you take all of that weight and heft it up high, that's like trying to heft up a semi-truck. And that's when it becomes really likely that you're going to blow out your voice. Instead, a singer has to coordinate the thickness of the vocal folds at any given point. Even though you're in the same register, there are different amounts of thickness that can be coordinated, and that they have to coordinate the breath pressure that's coming through. That will directly affect the volume. They're also having to really coordinate the resonance. It keeps leaping over all of these different crazy notes, and that means that the threading needs to be constantly adjusted. It's incredibly, incredibly difficult. So add to that, no more ground.
It's me! It's me! So if you can't find me, look to the western sky. As someone told me lately, everyone deserves a chance to fly.
I'm just going to go back on that one more time because you can really tell where she's trying to bring more volume into that lower part, but she has to push a little bit more to get it in there. Naturally louder. She's trying to pump more there. One of the other moments I pity the singer in this song is right here. And it might not be the moment you would expect. It's actually on the word me. Most singers are going to be preferring an ah or an ah, especially vowels. So defying is actually really great. Try defying. The I diphthongs, that's a fantastic vowel to work on these super, super high sustained belts with. But she goes into this section first on an E vowel. E vowels have the mouth really closed. The tongue is bunched up in the front. It's just not the greatest position for a super high belt. So Idina does a really good job here.
Take a message back from me. Tell them how I am the God.
You can hear it just a tiny bit closed. I mean, it's because literally the vowel is closed. E versus I, right? The mouth is more closed. while this isn't absolute perfection, I think it's so satisfying. The not absolute perfection comes in every now and then. There's like a little jiggle in the sound that's not as steady. It comes in the loud breathing. She has a lot of loud breathing in this section, but those things add so much to the emotion of this performance. I think Idina brought the character to the next level with this. It's like you can really feel that the character has just been pushed over to the next evolution, essentially. It's such a pivotal moment. There's a reason it's a great ender for Act One. And I think that she is bringing that emotion into the voice to the point that we actually start to have a couple of imperfections in the technique, which is maybe in itself perfection. I just challenge people to think about that. I would be thrilled to have exactly this in a live performance, because while I hear like every now and then they go like a little boop, I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, that's like what happens when a person gets on stage and gives a big speech, and you hear every now and then their voice just start to tremble a little bit because they're so excited and nervous, and we get these little nerve firings that happen that go through our larynx when we're really excited and nervous like that, and it'll cause little blips in the sound. There was one in this section earlier. I heard at least another one earlier too. And I think that it's so exciting and thrilling and so human. That's such a high note to belt. It's an F, I think. F5, I want to say.
Nobody in all of Oz, no wizard that there is or was, is ever gonna bring
You could actually hear just a tiny bit of the voice sounding like it was like, ah, in part of that. But check out the E vowel. She modifies it a little bit up here. It's essential because bring me down. It's so high. What is it at that point? It's like I think she's singing the E flat there. E flat 5, y'all.
is or was.
That's so high to belt. So her mouth is modified. Super, super important. E vowels are usually pretty close in the front, right? Me. We are still hearing an E vowel, but she's actually altered the vowel. She's modified it. Very important in vocal technique. When you're singing higher on a vowel that's closed, that is just not ideal at all for the formation of the sound. There's lots of different reasons why. We're just going to say it's not ideal right now. So what we do is we'll open it. We'll modify it a little bit. So the really easy way to do this with an E vowel is just to drop the jaw. Yeah. It ends up being more like an eh. Check out her mouth. It's not E. It's more of an eh. We still hear me, but she's actually singing meh. So in the middle of that, there was a tiny dip in the note. I don't know if that was just a little bit of fatigue. It might have been that there was something with a flying harness, who knows? But I want to point that out because this isn't absolute perfection. This song is so hard. If it's a tiny bit of fatigue or unsteadiness because she's been belting this high forever and ever and ever, like that's so normal. And for somebody who originated the role on Broadway, that's still normal. So when we go to the studio recordings, just remember that's like what they wish every single live performance sounded like. This is what the live performances actually sound like. Right there's a little dip. A little unsteadiness there at the end as well. And I want to take particular note of what she does at the end. She's really pushing the absolute top of her belt here. Okay, Idina Menzel's voice, actually, I think it particularly likes C's and C sharps, or the equivalent is a D flat. We know this from Frozen and Frozen 2. Just take a look at where her songs regularly peak there. So this is like even one note, one pitch above, and it's even pushing another pitch, so yet still another whole step above. I'll talk some more about how this forms a singer's voice in a bit. Let's just listen to that. And again, it is pushing the very, very top of her belt, as it should be. It's so fatiguing to do this with no ground too. I do like the edge she adds there. Oh, there's a little bit. All right, let's go compare some studio versions. We're going to dive in first to a little bit from the soundtrack of the film.
Elphaba, why can you stay calm for once instead of flying off the handle? I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy now. I hope you're happy how you hurt your cause forever. I hope you think you're clever.
I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy too. I hope you're proud how you would grovel in submission to feed your own ambition. So though I can't imagine how, I hope you're happy right now.
Obviously, this wasn't in the Tony Awards version, but it is going to be in both of the studio versions here. I think it's fascinating that this is the beginning of Defying Gravity. It's really this I hope you're happy, which I think is brilliant how it's set, because at first it sounds so angry at each other. Like, you know that the characters are really saying, I hope you're not happy. And then later it shifts to be actually sincere. Fantastic writing. Let's check out how it's set in the original cast version.
Elphaba, why couldn't you have stayed calm for once instead of flying off the handle? I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy now. I hope you're happy how you hurt your cause forever. I hope you think you're clever.
I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy too. I hope you're proud how you would grovel in submission to feed your own ambition.
So though I can't imagine how, I hope you're happy
Right now.
Hi. Oh, y'all didn't know the amazing timing of that, because the drums hit just as my door opened up and I received a Topo Chico. It's a long day. Thank you.
How long have you been waiting for those?
Spritz for like 2 weeks. Thank you. That was amazing with the drums, right? Okay. My stomach dropped extra. Oh my goodness. Okay. Water, essential for singing and for YouTube videos. And if I burp because it's carbonated, I'm sorry. We pretty much got to the point I wanted to. Let's go right back here.
So though I can't imagine how, I hope you're happy
Right now.
Elfie.
So one of the things that I feel the film actually did better here, and in general, I'm going to have, I think, just a slight bias for the original musical. It's because I've been around it for so long, right? Like, it's just, for me, it's one of the greatest musicals. I have so many good memories of seeing it, and so many fantastic memories of performing popular and auditions for forever. And then additionally, I mean, I never sang Defying Gravity. That's not my voice type. Okay, not a belter here. I'll belt high C's, but not this kind of belter. So I've seen so many mezzos take on Defying Gravity, though, and I know how terrifying it is. So I'm gonna have, I think, a bias towards the original musical. I was really impressed by the film. Was it a little too long? kind of thought so, but we did explore a lot of the character relationships a little deeper. Check out just this one difference between the studio versions. This version of Defying Gravity is 5 minutes and 57 seconds long, and this version is 7 minutes and 39 seconds long. This was a trend throughout all of the film. The music just was elongated in a lot of spots, but it was done very tastefully. We didn't get any actual new song numbers. It was just a lot of times given more space to explore different relationships, to go back and get some childhood at one point. It was really impressive. I like the way that in the film we actually got a little more anger from these characters at the beginning of this section. I think when you're on a Broadway stage, sometimes the anger doesn't translate as well as if you have a camera just up there in your face.
You've stayed calm for once instead of flying off the handle. I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy now. I hope you're happy how you hurt your cause forever. I hope you think you're clever.
I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy too. I hope you're proud how you would grovel in submission to feed your own ambition. So
I think that the anger and edge that the voices have here works really well. And also recording in a studio is going to be a little bit different than doing it live on stage in Broadway, right? You can adjust how close you are to a microphone in a studio versus on stage, you just have that one mic on top, or sometimes it's coming in from the side, right? You've got a body mic on instead. Let's come back here, listen to that one more time just as a comparison, and we'll keep going.
Why couldn't you have stayed calm for once instead of flying off the handle? I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy now. I hope you're happy how you.
There's bite, but not as much teeth and growl.
I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy too. I hope you're proud.
I like the little bit of husk that Idina brings in here.
To feed your own ambition. So though I can't imagine how, I hope you're happy right now. Elfie,
I love hearing
listen to me.
the orchestra start up.
Just say you're
Defying
sorry.
Gravity right there. It's so
You can still
exciting.
be with the wizard. What you've worked and waited for. You can have all you ever wanted. I know, but I don't want it. No. I can't want it anymore.
I think that the growth in the voice from I Can't Want It Anymore, not only does Idina make this a moment of self-discovery, she makes it a moment of vocal discovery. So I like the expansion that's already written in and going from I don't want it to I can't want it anymore. When she gets to more, as she's working through the vowel, it's more. She's tasting every stage of this R colored vowel. It's delicious, and you can just, it's like she's experiencing the self-discovery in the evolution of holding a note.
Wanted anymore.
The vibrato, the little bit of air at the end, all of it is just perfect. I love that. Let's check out what Cynthia does with this.
although I can't imagine how, I hope you're happy right now.
Elfie, listen to me. Just say you're sorry. You can still be with the wizard once you worked.
I love the callback of this moment. Really, throughout this song, there are great callbacks.
You can have all you ever wanted.
Just really quick comparison here between Ariana and Kristen's voices. Ariana, when she goes up there, she brings actually more air into the sound to make it a little thinner, whereas Kristen is actually pulling back, I think, quite a bit on the breath pressure. She almost makes it like a tiny thread of the sound. I get into a lot more details about the differences in their sound, though, in Popular.
I know, but I don't want it. No, I can't want it anymore.
So I think that Cynthia has done something entirely different that still provokes self-discovery here. And this is one of the big things I felt in the film. I felt that it was cast so very well. And I think our two leads gave us a new window into Glinda and Elphaba that was just, it was enlightening to me. I felt so appreciative of the slight different twists. I didn't feel that they took the original characters and didn't get them right. Instead, it was like they had a breath of fresh air into them. And that's hard to do when you already are following these legends ahead of you. Yes, there were certain moments where I felt like, oh, I like the way that Idina or Kristen did that better. But I had massive respect for all of the choices that were made, especially by our leading ladies here. Cynthia takes the discovery and she brings it inside of herself a little bit more. I think this is easier again to do with film, and she also had some more experience with film too. She can bring it all inside and have smaller, more subtle reactions with film. It's the same thing where if you're in the studio album, you can be adjusting around the microphone a lot more. There's a lot more nuance that you can bring than if you're on stage and your audience is sitting really quite far away. So instead of allowing us to feel the excitement that she feels from halfway back in the auditorium, we can still feel it on stage, which is what Idina does. Cynthia takes us at this moment and she sucks us into her world. Right? It feels like she's starting to like cradle us somehow.
Something has changed.
She's really close on a mic here.
Something is not the same. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game.
So, because that moment is so extremely tough, we have to go back and listen to what Idina does in the studio version. I feel blown away by what Cynthia does there. I'm not gonna lie, because she lets us feel the stretch, but it still doesn't feel nearly as far apart as it actually is. It's such a hard leap to make.
Something has changed within me. Something is not the same. I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game.
And I think Idina might have been the person that taught her how to do that, right? She set the standard for this role. And the way that she sings and has some good body on it, but when she goes up to rules in the studio version, at least, she does this amazing job of decrescendoing into it, getting quieter, doing the opposite of what the voice feels like doing at that point. It's so very tough. One thing that I much prefer, though, in the film version here, is actually the orchestra underneath. It feels almost, now that I'm back in the studio version, this actually feels a little thin to me. Check it out. We still have tremolo that's happening there, right? That's that stand in the strings. but it's not
Something is not the
it's not as
same.
satisfying. It's not as big and doesn't present as
I'm
much of a
through
string
with
bed.
playing
String
by
bed.
the rules of someone else's game.
Y'all, these are two world-class singers that did that there. Just appreciate it. I think that drawing out is nice there.
Something has changed within me.
20 years later, you're going to have access to better production, and you're going to have more orchestration available for a film score too.
I'm through with playing by the rules of someone else's game.
Let's keep going.
Too late for second guessing. Too late to go back to sleep. It's time to trust my instincts. Close my eyes and leap. It's time to try defying gravity. I think I'll try defying gravity, and you can't pull me down.
Can't I make
So I wanted to let that play into this first chorus because if you'll remember, it was beautiful how Idina did that live, but it wasn't this smooth. However, it was a live version, right? Let's see what the studio version of her doing it sounds like.
Someone else's game. Too late for second guessing. Too late to go back to sleep. It's time to trust my instincts. Close my eyes and leap. It's time to try defying gravity. I think I'll try defying gravity, and you can't pull me down.
can't I make you understand?
So I think it's really impressive when we hear this version how much more nuanced and smooth at the same time Idina is versus the live version. I think Cynthia replicates that actually very, very well. Again, standards set, standards followed. One thing that I noticed though about Cynthia's voice that I find just really lovely in this role is she has, it sounds to me like the first overtone, which is an octave above. It sounds like she's able to activate that a lot. There's so many things that stems from that can stem from really effective or efficient sound creation at the vocal fold level. It also has to do with how the sound is then marinated within the vocal tract, because all of these different things in here can enhance the sound in different ways. She seems to really find the sweet spot, one that's enhancing an overtone that's exactly one octave above the pitch she's singing. Anytime we hear a pitch, we're not just, well, I shouldn't say every single time, but like when you're hearing a singer, when you hear a pitch, you're not just hearing the perceived pitch. You're actually hearing this whole series of overtones above it. That's what creates all of the quality of the pitch. And if you hear certain ones will create like more of a shimmering or bright quality. If some of those are missing and other ones up higher are more shimmery or brighter, sometimes you'll have like more of a dark or a rounder tone. The color of the tone is often created by this overtone series that's above. And with Cynthia's voice, I'm constantly, I shouldn't say all the time, when she has that really hushed quality, I don't hear it. But the moment she gets in what seems like the core of her sound, I just hear this amazing overtone that is an octave above and it has like almost a primal shimmer to it. It reminds me a little bit of Rihanna's voice, actually. And then conversely, with Idina, there's every now and then this little bit of husk that feels very earthy about her sound. And Cynthia has a different kind of earthy soul to her sound. Obviously, their stylings are wildly different too. But for the moment, let's go back just a little bit and then keep going.
Defying gravity.
That's so much control on the top. Wow.
Can't I make you understand? You're having delusions of grandeur.
Great cut from
Through
Kristen.
accepting limits, 'cause someone says they're so. Some things I cannot change, but till I try, I'll never know.
A great alphabet is not just about having fantastic high belted notes. It's about getting through sections like that with character and drive in the voice. Because if you can only belt those high notes, but you haven't got the ability to deliver those lows, you're not getting the character development. This is one of the reasons why Idina is so good as Elphaba.
You're having delusions of grandeur.
I'm through accepting limits, 'cause someone says they're so.
She's got
Some
edge.
things I cannot change, but till I try, I'll never know. Too long I've
So it's
been
like country
afraid
rock
of
edge.
losing love, I guess I've lost. Well, if that's love, it comes at much too high a cost. I'd sooner fight to find
I love that.
gravity. Kiss me goodbye, I'm defying gravity, and you can't pull me down.
I think it's really fun to hear how she went up there. It actually almost sounds more like Ariana's version, like what Ariana would do up there. And I think that's fascinating to hear in the alphabet of the original cast. Let's head back to Cynthia.
Make you understand. You're having delusions of grandeur.
I'm through accepting limits, 'cause someone says they're so. Some
Just immediately, I want you to notice how she cuts off her diction a little bit differently. It's like sharper, shorter.
And you're having delusions of grandeur.
I'm through accepting limits.
That hit me when I saw it in the
'Cause
film.
someone says they're so. Some things I cannot change, but till I try, I'll never know. Too long I've been afraid of losing love, I guess I've lost. Well, if that's love, it comes at much too high a cost. I'd sooner die defying gravity. Kiss me good, I'm defying gravity, and you can't pull me down.
I think this might actually be one of the first sections where you start extending more in the soundtrack. But just briefly on this section, I think the control that she has of her vibrato is really remarkable. Already, like we've heard some great control from Idina. I think that Cynthia has even more control of her vibrato. Idina's vibrato tends to be very fast and really emotive. And I find that with Cynthia, she can go fast, but she's just, it's like she has some sort of meter that is almost inhuman on her vibrato. It's really, really controlled. Incredibly impressive to me. I'm going to go back a little bit just so you can pay attention to what she's doing with her vibrato.
I defy,
Oh, let's go back a little.
close my eyes
So light there.
and leave. It's time to try defying gravity. I think
Just a
I'll
tiny bit.
try defying gravity, and you can't pull me down.
Can't I make you understand? You're having delusions of grandeur.
I'm through accepting limits, 'cause someone says they're so. Some things I cannot change, but till I try, I'll never know. Too long I've been afraid of losing love, I guess I've lost. Well, if that's love, it comes at much too high a cost. I'd sooner defy.
The smoothness there is amazing.
Kiss me good, I'm defying gravity.
It was moments like this in the film where I thought to myself, I'm not sure if the song is difficult for Cynthia. Now, when we hear the studio version of Idina, I don't know that we really think it's difficult for her either, but it does feel like it's just a little bit more edgy in her voice. I would be so curious, Cynthia doing a live performance of this, or, singing it live on Broadway, especially something with a lot of pressure and night after night after night, because I was a little shocked at times to feel like maybe this was easy for Cynthia. You're like, wait, no. The role that's considered by many people to be the hardest role in musical theater repertoire, she's making it sound easy. It's not supposed to sound easy. Amazing. I'll let her keep going.
And you can't pull me down. Come with me. Think of what we could do.
I think this is actually still the same.
Unlimited. Together we're unlimited. Together we'll be the greatest team there's ever been. Glenda, dreams the way we planned them.
If we work in tandem,
There's no fight we cannot win. Just you and I, defying gravity. With you and I, defying gravity. They'll never bring us down.
Again, really, really well balanced in the leads. One of my favorite little bits of trivia about this musical is that Unlimited, whenever it comes in and they're singing Unlimited, this is essentially a leitmotif, which is like a musical theme. You might be familiar with them from Star Wars, but they really go all the way back to Wagner and the Ring Cycle. It was like a big shakeup in the musical world, and people started composing with through themes like this then in works after that. Really, Wagner was the person that made it huge. And then there was this massive evolutionary musical tumble afterwards. And we see that in all kinds of film today, and we see it in all kinds of musicals today. The fun thing about this particular musical theme is it's hearkening back to Somewhere Over the Rainbow. The story goes that Stephen Schwartz wanted to call back to Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I mean, like, iconic song. That's the most iconic song from The Wizard of Oz. So he wanted to make a callback to it. And there was a copyright rule at the time. I'm not sure if it's the same one now. But basically, if you used 8 notes from a melody, then it was considered, I think, plagiarism. But 7 notes was okay. So the first 7 pitches of Unlimited are the same as Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Just 7, not 8. Gotta be careful with that. Of course, they're set differently a lot of different times. There'll be different harmonies underneath them, so it can be hard to make that connection, which clearly means that, he wasn't stealing any music. But I don't think there was actually any song in the original album. Unlimited isn't a song. It's just a theme that comes back into lots of different ones and pays heed to the original film. Just like so cool to hear. Let's head over to the studio with the original cast now, and just notice, like, right here we're at 4 minutes in, and gosh, they really extended, I think, mostly at the end of Defying Gravity. It's really bulked up. Here we go.
Glenda, come with me. Think of what we could do together.
unlimited. Together we're unlimited. Together we'll be the greatest team there's ever been. Glenda, dreams the way we planned them. If we work in tandem, there's no fight we cannot win. Just you and I, defying gravity. With you and I, defying gravity. They'll never bring us down. Well,
Ooh, there's a shift. I think that both casts deliver this brilliantly on the studio album, the various studio albums. I think that this is one of those places where the differences in style really gives it a different feel. It feels somehow more soulful to me in the film version, and this one feels more like musical theater to me. I think that's just bringing in elements of where, honestly, just where trends have gone. Ariana Grande obviously is coming from more hits and being on the radio more. My time ran out. Cynthia also has a great background in Broadway as well, but you can hear how the trends may have shifted over the years. It's fascinating hearing how what's on top 40s in the radio affects musical theater today. Lots of different explorations than what we heard in 2004. Let's keep going here a little bit and notice some differences.
They'll never bring us down.
Well, are you coming?
I hope you're happy now that you're choosing this.
You too.
I hope it brings you bliss. I really hope you get it and you don't live to regret it. I hope.
I love how we started so angry at each other and then we get to this part and this is where it's sincere. It's it's so beautiful and has shown how even in a few minutes emotions can completely just change.
Bring us down.
So start to elongate a little bit there, right, from the original. I think that explores the emotion that Glinda has in this moment a little bit more.
I hope you're happy now that you're choosing this.
You too.
Just notice how, again, with the choice of being lighter and more fragile, Ariana's voice goes to feathers. And Kristen Chenoweth's feels like a thread instead. Let's take those moments back to back. I think it's one of the defining qualities in how their Glindas are different, but both good.
I hope you're happy now that you're choosing this.
You too.
Right? She actually starts to even have a tiny bit of creak in her voice there. So she's going on a thread, but not adding tons of air into the tone.
No, I hope you're happy now that you're choosing this.
I also think Ariana is much closer on her mic there. Okay, we'll keep going.
Now that you're choosing this.
You too.
I hope it brings you bliss. I really hope you get it and you don't live to regret it. I hope you're happy in the end. I hope you're happy, my friend.
No! Leave her alone! She hasn't done anything wrong! I'm the one you want! I'm the one you want! It's me!
It's me. So if you care to find me to the western sky, has someone told me lately, everyone deserves a chance to fly. And if I'm flying solo, at least I'm flying free. To those who ground me, take a message back from me. Tell them how I am defined.
I think that is one of the most goosebumps inducing moments in musical theater. I can't hear it without feeling overwhelmed. It's really hard to sing, yes, but it's also it's not just because it's high belting, it's because it's also just really, really well written. I When we look back at how this was developed, I think it's important. Stephen Schwartz is an incredible musical writer in the first place, but he also was so deliberate about how he worked on this and how he spent time in revision. They took a lot of critical feedback and did a lot of revision on that. This, while there are occasions when somebody will just sort of spill out their guts in a moment of musical inspiration that's incredible on a whole like godly level. I think when you have huge musical works or huge operatic works or films as well, when it's a project with that much sustained creativity and inspiration, it isn't something you can just write and be perfect after it's written once. No, it needs lots and lots and lots of revision. And I mean, the closest thing I would put in classical music from being quick inspiration that's really incredible is Handel's Messiah. And he was just locked away doing that too. And I still think that it doesn't come close to the epicness of a full opera or a full musical. I really believe in looking at the progress that they went through of how it actually wasn't Idina Menzel who was the person who was workshopping this. It was another singer. I think Stephanie was her name. And Kristen Chenoweth was workshopping it with the composer as well. They were going through, working on all these things. Even after they'd done some test runs in San Francisco, they took a lot of critical feedback and worked on it for another 3 months before premiering on Broadway. There was so much refinement that went into making moments like this completely magical. Let's check out what happens in the studio here. Or Broadway studio, sorry.
I hope it brings you bliss. I really hope you get it, and you don't live to regret it. I hope you're happy in the end. I hope you're happy, my friend.
I love the airiness both of them had on My. There was some really good coordination there. My was short, had nice, like a gasp to it. And then Friend had both crescendo and widening vibrato from each of them.
You're happy, my friend.
And I love that it's also unison, showing a united front here.
So if you care to find me, look through the western sky. As someone told me lately, everyone deserves a chance to fly. And if I'm flying solo, at least I'm flying free. To those who ground me, take a message back from me. Tell them how I am defying gravity. I'm flying high, defying gravity, and soon I'll match them in renown.
Really important to notice, we didn't have that whole guard section in this part. It's interesting that you have that in the Tony Awards, but not in the studio here, right? And we had it in this album. So that's partly where the longer time is going to come from. Also, when Idina goes up to the F that's belted here, the F5, it is so clean and so together. This brings into account what happens in studio recordings versus singing it on stage a whole bunch. If you are in perfect condition, you've got your high notes there like lined up, you can sing them in the studio album that day, right? Yeah, I know recording sessions aren't always scheduled when singers want them. Sometimes they've had a lot of different things. Sometimes you're not in the ideal situation for a studio album. Or in the case of Flora Jansen, she was, for the last album they did, I think she was 6 weeks postpartum. Poor woman. I still can't get over that. But here, Idina sounds like she is in pristine vocal health this day. And normally when you hear your alphabet go up to this F, it's going to sound not as clean because she's been singing it for 7 other nights that week, right? It's so tough for Elphabez on Broadway. This song is exhausting. The endurance just in the song alone is difficult, but in the role and the entire role, it is so challenging. That means you're going to have some vocal swelling that's going to occur. This is normal. It's like you go to the gym, you work out, you're going to feel a little sore afterwards, right? That's swelling that's happening in your body. And it's expected after you go to the gym and work out. This is a vocal workout, an extremely tough vocal workout. So it'd be natural the next day for the vocal folds to be a little bit swollen. If they're a little bit swollen, the vocal folds essentially have more water in them. They're a little bit thicker. Thicker vocal folds are harder to vibrate quickly, which means the higher notes are tougher, right? If you've had a night out where you've been yelling and screaming, maybe had too much to drink, you're feeling dehydrated, your vocal folds aren't going to want to vibrate very fast either. You'll probably notice that your low notes are really good in the morning. If there's swelling, they're going to be thicker. They're not going to want to move as much. So the high notes will often feel more difficult. They might get a little bit huskier. They're not going to have that clean buzz in every single performance. But when we get to the studio, that's when we get to hear usually when the singers are in pristine shape. And I think you can really hear that incredible buzz and ease in Idina's voice on that top F.
At least I'm flying free to those who ground me. Take a message back from me. Tell them how I am.
Let's go back a little bit.
I hope you're happy, my
Cool.
friend. So if you care to find me, look through the western sky. As
That's
someone
great.
told me lately, everyone deserves a chance to fly. And if I'm flying,
So really, really clean, really together. It's so impressive. And I think that kind of ease in her voice is also what we're hearing in Cynthia's voice throughout the film. It's this fresh vocal fold ease, right? The ease of not having sung this night after night after night after night. I think that even though Glinda has higher notes, she's not having to belt them. Her higher notes, I think, are just easier in the voice style that she's singing to hit. When you're singing in like that legit operatic style, I think she has a high C at one point, like a C6. I'm sure that there's at least a B5. And in a legit style, you can do that night after night. It'll work out. Many Glindas do. Though that also is something that sometimes we'll bring an understudy in for. But besides that, I think that the much more vocally draining role is Elphaba here. I think most people agree on that too, because of the belting that's required and then the amount of volume that's necessary to continually produce in the lowers. Yet the challenge then of narrowing the sound and really getting it focused in the upper belts so that it's not too heavy and doesn't push too hard in this already really, really sensitive area. Extremely complicated. Let's go back just a little bit. Oh, let's go here, because this is where the goosebumps happen.
No! Leave her alone!
Guards,
She hasn't done
right?
anything wrong.
Included.
I'm the one you want! I'm the one you want! It's me! It's me!
There's that overtone.
So if you care to find me, look to the western sky. Has someone told me lately, everyone deserves a chance to fly. And if I'm flying solo, at least I'm flying free. To those who ground me, take a message back from me. Tell them how I am defying gravity. I'm a flying high, defying gravity. And soon I'll match them in arena.
So that moment when she goes up to the higher note on defying, for me, it almost sounds like a tenor when you go up and there's an extension. Like she almost rounded something like a ceiling in the voice and lift it up and over it. And I swear this woman could like belt up to a B flat, maybe a B at this point. Her belt sounds unlimited. Let's just take that whole unlimited phrase and motif, apply it to Cynthia's belt. I I find it hard to believe how that particular moment was executed and what it indicates the top of the voice might actually be.
And soon I'll match them in renown.
A lot of extension here.
Nobody in all of us.
This is one of the places where I think I disagreed with the film. Even though this is so beautiful, and I love that it's harkening back to this unlimited leitmotif once again. We'll go back to the Broadway cast version, and this is extended a lot. The song has been extended, which is that common trend in the film. And for me, I understand that they were trying to build a really huge climactic point here that they could end their audience on and let them be hung for a year until the next part comes out, right? In the Broadway show, we just have to wait 15, 20 minutes for intermission, and then we come back for Act 2. So it needed to be really climactic. It had to really wrap up the epicness of bringing this entire musical to film. I felt like it was too drawn out. I started to feel like it was fantastic, but also started just feeling a little bit bloated at this point. It's beautiful. The music is beautiful. Cynthia sings it so extremely well. I think that the way they expanded all of the tracks is on point, right? The harmony, everything, it feels like it's still the whole musical. It actually doesn't feel like it had too many other people involved. It's a love letter to the original musical still. But I felt like it got just a bit too long, especially at this point. Let's do a comparison with what happens here. I mean, we already kind of like had this big shift in the structure, but I'll just let this play until the end so you get an idea.
And if I'm flying solo, at least I'm flying free. To those who ground me, take a message back from me. Tell them how I am defying gravity. I'm flying.
I love that orchestra.
Defying gravity.
So good.
And soon I'll match them in renown.
I like this better.
Nobody in all of us, no wizard that there is or was, is ever gonna bring me down. I hope you're happy.
So this whole unlimited section doesn't exist in the original studio album, but there is still that pullback and this thing about the wizard that happens in there and build up into this final down and fun run that Elphaba gets to do full with Glinda coming back in, backing him up, and the whole chorus, right? It's hugely climactic. I think it's incredibly satisfying in the theater. And it also didn't feel like overkill. It didn't feel like the nail was already in and you were like banging a dent in the board. For me, this got a bit extended, but it did not take away at all from how glorious the music and musicians and actors were. Oh, let's go back a little bit.
from me. Tell them how I am defying
So,
gravity.
just so you know, it's about 2 minutes instead of 1 minute is the ending difference.
I'm a flying high, defying
Love that.
gravity.
I love
So
that.
not much no memory now.
This is where it starts to feel like, that's where it starts to feel long. It's so beautiful though in her voice. That tenderness, the sweetness, when she's just been belting so much, it's so, so beautiful.
Nobody in all of us, no wizard that there is or was, is
I love her quality.
gonna bring me down. I hope you're happy. Bring me
And then we have some more extended play out here, but I have to point out this last sung riff here. Yeah, it doesn't follow what some other Elphabas have done. I like it was still tasteful and rather short as well. But one of the things I like the most about it is the edge that she brings into it, which was similar to the edge that Idina had actually in the Tony Awards performance. I think every now and then Cynthia brings that into her sound. She's really she's picky about when she uses it. And I think that it is so well applied at this moment. It feels kind of metal. One other thing about this moment is she takes a much louder exhale. Usually not the greatest idea to have a really loud, inhale. Usually not the greatest idea to have a super loud inhale unless you're bringing in the emotion of the character, which definitely applies to this moment and also Idina's performance at the Tonys. One of the things, though, that can be achieved with that inhale, it can be a narrowing of the pharyngeal space. And if she wants that edge in her sound to be caused by something higher in the laryngeal and really the vocal tract, then bringing that loud inhale can bring some of that anatomy together and bring it a little closer to add the edge. I don't know if that was her intention, but it could be a vocal technique. That's glorious as is. This feels like movie trailer now. That was a long analysis. I deserve this Topo Chico right now, y'all. I hope you've also been drinking something along with me to help keep you hydrated because, boy, that was really intense, but so good. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey and discovering how two wonderful adaptations of this show can both be so good and so different. And I loved also exploring the different vocal qualities with you. If you want to see some more analysis of things related to Wicked, you can check out this playlist over here. I might add a sprinkle in a couple other things that would be really fun. May you fall more in love with music every day.